everyone, welcome to the Hindu News Analysis by Baji IAS Academy. So, in this session, we will discuss all the important and relevant news articles. They are given in the Hindu newspaper. Okay, so these are the list of very important news articles. The first news article is the next Finance Commission will have a tough task. See, these articles are very important for mains examination. The first four articles are very important for mains examination. The first article is with respect to the Finance Commission and the Finance Commission's terms of reference, how it has been becoming tougher day by day to decide the terms of reference to the Finance Commission. Right now, we are in the phase of the 15th Finance Commission, and the 16th Finance Commission will be appointed by the President. Okay, in the coming months. So the next article is about male-centric medicine is affecting women's health. So this article is with respect to neglecting women's health diagnosis, testing, and medication. So we are India is in fact known as the pharmacy of the world. So in this context, the male-centric medicine has been dominating the overall pharma, right? So therefore, a male-centric medicine is a concern, and that has also been affecting women's health. The next article is strengthening ICDS scheme. So we all know about the integrated child development services. Now, integrated child development services play a very crucial role when it comes to nutrition, education, and also nutrition to children, pregnant, and lactating mothers. Right. So, how strengthening the integrated child development services will ensure the objectives of different programs, for example Potion 2.0, etc. The next article is the status of transgenic crops in India. So this article is also very important for mains examination and prelims examination as well, right? So this is an evolving concept and a very debatable aspect, transgenic crops in India. Now, there are several environmental concerns with respect to introduction of transgenic crops, and several state governments recently opposed the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee's recommendations over the introduction of a new variety of Beti cotton. Now, we will understand all these four articles because these four articles are very important for mains examination. The next article is Tamil Nadu withdraws general consent granted to CBI, okay, the Central Bureau of Investigation. And this general consent is also very important because in the year 2021, UPSC asked a mains question on the general consent, with states withdrawing general consent to the CBI. The next article is with respect to Uniform Civil Code. Now, Uttarakhand government recently formed a panel, right? So to decide or to suggest ways to implement the Uniform Civil Code. So we all know that Indian Constitution, Article 44 talks about the Uniform Civil Code. Okay, so Article 44 is talks about Uniform Civil Code. Now, the center is also, in fact, Goa is the first state to implement Uniform Civil Code, and Supreme Court in one of its judgments also recommended other states to emulate the model of Goa. So in this context, Uttarakhand has also formed a panel to implement the Uniform Civil Code in the state. Okay. Now we have understood the different articles. Now the first article is with respect to the Finance Commission. Okay. So in this article, the author has been saying that the government will appoint the next finance commission over a period of time. Okay, so in the coming, because the constitution clearly mandates that president should appoint a finance commission once in 5 years. Okay, so in the year 2024 itself, the president will appoint a new finance commission, right? So next few months, the finance commission will be appointed, and this finance commission will decide the horizontal and the vertical devolution of funds between the union government and the state governments. So you know what is a vertical devolution and a horizontal devolution. The vertical devolution involves a devolution or share of funds between the center and the state governments. Okay, so when we discuss about the horizontal devolution, it is a devolution among the states. Okay, so there are various parameters. Based on those parameters, the finance commission used to recommend funds. For example, population is a criteria, income distance is a criteria, and also the ecology and forest is also a criteria. Based on these criteria, the finances devolved to different states. They usually differ, and this is known as horizontal distribution of finances. The author has also been saying that during the pre-reform periods, so when we are into the pre-reform period, the finance commission recommendations were not critical or not crucial. Why they were not critical or crucial? Because the role of devolution of funds and finances was largely played by the planning commission. So at that time, we have a planning commission, and planning commission largely used to decide the devolution of funds between the center and the states. Okay, so at that time, finance commission was not relevant. But now, the union government has, in fact, abolished the planning commission in the year 2000. When union government abolished the planning commission, it has become more relevant, right? The role of the finance commission has become more and more relevant after the reform period. Reform period, the LPG reforms, liberalization, globalization, and privatization that was brought in the year 1991. Okay, so during the reform period also, the public sector undertakings used to play a larger role in terms of investments, in terms of reducing the regional inequalities. But after the reform period, because of increasing globalization and privatization, the public sector undertakings rule as creation of investment or facilitation of investment, or reducing the regional inequalities in terms of infrastructure has gradually reduced, and we have been seeing the disinvestment. Okay, so in this context, it is more important, or the role of the finance commission has become more and more relevant and very important. Okay, so now we will understand what are the issues. Okay, so what is the issue about the horizontal distribution? Now, what is a horizontal distribution? Now, first understand the vertical distribution. In vertical distribution, funds are shared between center and the state governments. But when it comes to the horizontal distribution, the funds will be shared between the different states. Okay, so based on different criteria. Okay, now if you understand the current devolution pattern, currently the center gives away 41% of its tax pool to the states. Okay, so out of 100% of the collected taxes, 41% of its tax pool is generally given to the states. Okay, so states will demand more. Okay, so states very often demand the center to raise the share or the devolution to the respective states. However, in recent times, there is a constraint on the center, or increasing the responsibilities of the central government over the welfare schemes, uh, that the center is not in a position to devolve more and more funds and finances to the state governments, even though there are demands from the respective state governments. Okay, however, uh, yes, that is true that the center cannot devolve more and more finances other than the 41 percentage. But there is a debate on the horizontal distribution. Okay, so the horizontal distribution between states, different states. Now, the previous finance commission that was appointed in 2018, of reference that was taken by the Finance Commission was actually the 2011 population census. Okay, so in fact, there was a lot of debate, and there was also a tussle between the states, the southern states, and the center, because earlier the Finance Commission terms of reference used to take the 1971 population criteria. Okay? So 1971 population numbers it used to take. But 2017 Finance Commission terms of reference was 2011 population census. Now we all know that the southern states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh have made good performance in terms of family planning. Okay, so they are also able to control the overall population in their respective states. Okay, so but on the other hand, the northern states were not performed well in terms of family planning. So therefore, when the 2011 population census are actually taken into consideration by the Finance Commission to decide finances or decide horizontal distribution, the southern states are clearly at the disadvantaged position. So because of this reason, the southern states have been protesting or raising their concerns about the 2011 population census being taken by the Finance Commission. Okay. Apart from this, there was a similar conflict arises with regard to revenue deficit grants. Okay, so for example, if of particular states or a few states have a revenue deficit, what is the revenue deficit? The total expenditure of a particular state exceeds its total revenue. Okay, now there are few states which have the revenue deficits. Now this is also a problem. For example, if states revenue or the revenue deficits continuously increasing, and Finance Commission have been making favorable, recommendations to bridge the revenue deficit of those particular states, states have not been showing concern to reduce the revenue deficit because the center has been readily financing these states, okay, or these states revenue deficits. So because of this reason, the state governments which already have the revenue deficit are not doing enough to reduce their revenue deficits. Okay, and historically, if you look at the Finance Commission, it has also struggled to determine how much a state's deficit is due to its fiscal incapacity. Okay, now how much it's due to its fiscal irresponsibility. This is also with respect to the state's fiscal responsibility, or the fiscal responsibility to reduce its fiscal deficits. Right now, they have tried the finance commissions have tried to tweak the distribution formula, and this a formula to support deficit states without penalizing the responsible states. For example, it also amounts to the penalizing it also amounts to penalizing the responsible states, because there are few states which have been performing better in terms of reducing their revenue deficit and in terms of reducing their fiscal deficit. Okay, for example, there is a state A that has performed better, and that is able to reduce its revenue deficit and fiscal deficit as well. On the other hand, there is another state, state B, that has not that has a high amount of that has a very high fiscal deficit and revenue deficit. So in this context, the state B, which has not performed better in terms of fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, getting more share or more funds, and you are penalizing state A that has performed better. Okay, so these are some of the inconsistencies which are prevalent in the devolution of funds and finances, and they are some of the responsibilities of the finance commission while deciding the devolution of funds. Okay, in fact, there were a lot of fault lines, and that have been deepened in recent years. Okay, so not just about the fault lines, but there is a north-south divide in various aspects. Okay, so for example, when it comes to infrastructure, private investments, social indicators, and rule of law, so which has put them, the southern states have performed better. Okay, so in all these fronts, infrastructure front, private investment front, and also social indicators. Okay, in also social indicators, the southern states have performed better. On the other hand, the northern states have not been able to perform better in all those indicators. So that has resulted in increasing the north-south divide. Okay, so the very nature of horizontal distribution, that richer states compensate the poorer states. Okay, now richer states have been financing the poorer states. So how to ensure that this happens without deepening the divide will challenge the government in defining the terms of reference to the finance commission. Okay, so the actual question is the deepening of divide between the north and south. Okay, so deepening divide between north and south and defining the terms of reference to the finance commission will also be a challenge. The other challenge is cesses and surcharges. Okay, so cesses and surcharges, so we all know that what are cesses and surcharges. So they are also a form of taxes, but they are not part of the divisible pool. Okay, so the center will not devolve. They are not part of the divisible pool, means the center will retain cesses and surcharges and will not be shared with the respective state governments. Okay, so the terms of reference of the finance commission enjoin it to take into account the expenditure needs and revenue earning capacity of both center and the state governments. Okay, right. So, however, the overall cesses and surcharges to the total revenue have been increasing. They are in an increasing trend. So, Tamil Nadu government released a white paper a couple of years ago. Now, this white paper pointed out that the proportion of cesses and surcharges in center's total tax revenue nearly doubled. Actually, in the year 2011 and 12, it was 10.4%, and that has been increased to 20.2% in the year 2019 and 20. Now, when cess and surcharge have been increasing, then that will not be shared with the respective state governments, and states are at the disadvantaged position. Now, there is a pervasive incentive in operation here. Okay, so the straightforward option for raising revenues is to raise taxes. But if center does that, it has part with the 41 paise. Now, in fact, the center imposes taxes, then definitely the center has to share 41% of the total taxes with the state government. But on the other hand, center imposes cess and surcharge. There is no obligation on the center to share a cess and surcharge with the respective state governments. So, okay, so in the year 2000, constitution was amended. Okay, so giving states a share in the central total tax pool. Okay, so the implicit understanding was that center will resort only sparingly to cesses and surcharges. Okay, now center will only impose sparingly cess and both surcharge. Okay, so because they are not part of the divisible pool of the taxes. Okay, however, as a matter of routine, the center has been constantly or repeatedly imposing cesses and surcharges, and cess and surcharge has also been doubling to the overall revenues of the state central government. Okay, so as a result of this breach of understanding, states have felt cheated out of their legitimate share in national tax revenue. So the next Finance Commission should lay down guidelines for when cesses and surcharges might be levied, and also suggest a formula to cap the amount that can be raised. Okay. Now, apart from cess and surcharge terms of reference for the Finance Commission, there is also an issue of freebies. Okay, so every political party have been announcing freebies, irrespective of or not paying enough heed to the fiscal implications on states' exchequer. So therefore, it is also the responsibility of the Finance Commission and the governments to make sure that freebies will not pose any challenge to the fiscal position of the state governments. Okay, so the second issue of the focus for the finance commission should be government spending on what has come to be called as freebies. Now all political parties are guilty on this count, and some more than others, but trying to apportion blame will be a wrong start. Right? See, no doubt India is a poor country, and around 30% of its population are below poverty line. Now, if anyone or any group of people talks against the freebies, and if any group talks about freebies, and that is clearly seen as injustice, unwise. So therefore, every group and every political party have been actively advocating for freebies. Okay, so now in a poor country where millions of households struggle for a basic human needs, it sounds cruel to argue against safety nets. Okay, so freebies are also comes a part of the safety nets, but it is precisely because India is a poor country that we need to be more circumspect about freebies. Now, in theory, the restraints imposed by the Fiscal Responsibility and the Budget Management Act uh, should have acted as a check on such populist spending. Freebies are called part of the populist spending, and FRBM Act should have acted as a check. But government have found ingenious ways of raising debt without appearing in the budget books. For example, off-budget borrowings. The off-budget borrowings will not be counted as part of the fiscal deficit. Now, government has been raising funds through off-budget borrowings. Okay. Now, so there is a need to curtail or to reduce these freebies as well, because this will have a serious implication or impact on overall state revenue. This is all about this article, the terms of reference of the Finance Commission, cess and surcharges imposed by the central government, and increasing the cess and surcharges over a period of time, and the restraint on freebies. Okay, now please understand the Finance Commission. Okay, some points about the Finance Commission. So, the Finance Commission is actually the balancing wheel of fiscal federalism. Okay, so fiscal federalism is center-state relations. Now, fiscal federalism involves the devolution of funds and finances between center and states. Okay, so this is actually a balancing wheel of fiscal federalism in India. Now, Article 280 of the Indian Constitution, Part 12, talks about the Finance Commission. Now, Finance Commission is a quasi-judicial body. Okay. Now, it is constituted by the President of India once in a 5 years. This is also known as quinquennially. Okay. Now, members of the Finance Commission. So, who are the members of the Finance Commission? A chairman and four members, and they include the High Court judge, and they are appointed by the president. Okay. So, they have authority to decide. Parliament have the authority to decide the qualifications of chairman and four other members. Okay. So when it comes to the tenure of the members of the Finance Commission, it is being specified by the president itself. Okay, because he is the appointing authority, and they are also eligible for reappointment. So apart from this, the Finance Commission also have the powers of a civil court as per the Code of Civil Procedure 1908. Now, what are the roles and responsibilities of the Finance Commission? So, the Finance Commission makes recommendations to the President about the distribution of net proceeds of taxes between the center and states. Secondly, the principles of grants in aid to the states by the center. And third, evaluate the rise in the consolidated fund of state to affix. So, what resources of panchayat and municipalities have to receive. And the other aspects is other financial matters referred to it by the president. Okay, so it will take a decision or it will make recommendation in all these aspects. So you have to understand the other thing that the recommendations of the Finance Commission are just advisory or recommendatory in nature, but they are not binding on the government. Okay, so The first finance commission chairman was KC Yogi, and that was the time period of the first finance commission was 1952 to 57. And the second finance commission 1957 to 60. The chairman of the commission was K. Santana. And the 15th Finance Commission, the time period is 2021 to 26, and chairman of this commission, N.K. Singh. Now, State Finance Commission. Now, as like the Central Finance Commission, there is also a State Finance Commission, and it is constituted by the governor every fifth year under Article 253 I of the Constitution. Okay, so this is 253 I. Now it reviews the financial position of the panchayats and municipalities. It will also decide the devolution of funds and finances between states and municipalities panchayats. Okay. So the next article is with respect to integrated child development services. See, this article is very important. Okay, so they will ask this in paper 2 of the GS, governance and social justice, government interventions. Okay, now what this article has been saying. So, the assessment methods of global surveys, India's high prevalence of, in India, there is a very high prevalence of stunting, wasting, anemia, and that continues to pose a serious public health problem or the public health challenge for children and women. Okay, so I hope every one of you know about the stunting, wasting, okay, malnutrition problems that India has been facing. Okay, so when India has been facing such a serious problem, healthcare problem, and that may pose a serious health care problem, it is very important it is very important the institutions or interventions like integrated child development services. Okay, so India already have the integrated child development services, and India must strengthen the ICTS. Okay, so that will help tackle the existing or the about discussed problems. So what are those problems? They include stunting, wasting, anemia. Okay, the ICDS targets children aged 0 to 6 years, pregnant women, and lactating mothers. Okay, ICDS will also addresses non-formal preschool education and breaks the cycle of malnutrition, morbidity, and mortality. Okay, so that includes the infant mortality rates and maternal mortality rates as well. Okay, so there is a detailed survey that was actually conducted on the ICDS and its impact on the reducing the levels of malnutrition among different population groups. Empirical research that has been highlighting that there is a correlation between early life poverty, malnutrition, inadequate stimulation, and later cognitive and economic challenges faced by the people. Okay, so there is a correlation between all these aspects. Okay, apart from this, studies have also shown that interventions focusing on nutrition, education, health during early childhood, they can significantly improve human capital formation. Okay, so healthy human capital is in fact an asset for any nation, particularly for a country like India, where we have a very high levels of demographic dividend. Okay, now, recently there was a study that was published in World Development, and that has demonstrated that integrated child development services, uh, their positive impact on various cognitive achievements, and especially among the girls. Okay, especially among the girl students. Okay, uh, so this is all about the different surveys and their revelations and their studies about the the strengths of the ICDS, the role of the ICDS. And the other survey says that uh, the children who were actually exposed to the integrated child development services during the first 3 years of life, they have completed 0.1 to 0.3 more grade schooling than those who were not exposed to the ICDS. Okay, and the other A survey found out that adolescents aged 13 to 18 who born in villages with proper ICDS implementation, they showed 7.8% increased likelihood of school enrollment and completed an average of 0.8 additional grades, okay, compared to their peers who did not have access to the ICDS. So all these aspects have been showing that ICDS in fact have a positive role on educational outcomes and cognitive development of children who are exposed to the ICDS. Now, no doubt that ICDS has made a remarkable strides, and it is also imperative or important for us to acknowledge the pressing need for a thorough reassessment of our approaches towards the ICDS and implementation of various programs through the integrated development services. Okay, so despite 4 decades of relentless efforts, ICDS still facing the Herculean task of evaluating the nutritional and health outcomes. Okay, uh, especially in the age group of children 0 to 6 years. So, a significant first step towards the fortifying the program is to empower the Anganwadi workers, because most of the ICDS centers are headed by the Anganwadi workers. So, there is a need for a fortifying program is to empower the Anganwadi workers. Okay, so though the cornerstone of the ICDS, they are frequently stretched beyond their limits. Okay, so they are overburdened with their uh, uh, work. Okay, as principal operatives in the Motion 2.2 initiative, these workers bear the actual onus on advancing child nutrition, health, education in their respective communities. Their roles vary widely from employing modern technologies like smartphones and applications to practical tasks such as delivering health education, managing feeding programs, liaising with auxiliary nurse midwives, and other healthcare professionals. Okay, so the article has also been suggesting that there is a need to appoint more and more Anganwadi workers. So, what is the need of, or what are the advantages of appointing more Anganwadi workers? So, the article has been effectively suggesting that there are 5 advantages of appointing more Anganwadi workers, okay, or additional Anganwadi worker. Okay, in India, we have around 13 lakh 99,661 Anganwadi centers. Okay, no need to remember this data, but if you are writing a mains answer, you just quote this number. Okay, so an additional Anganwadi worker in all these Anganwadi centers across the country, in fact, lessen the load of these existing Anganwadi workers. Okay, so we need to reduce their work burden, and in fact, implementing this approach could yield at least 5 advantages. Okay, so this would result in 5 advantages. So what are the 5 advantages? The first advantage would be it lead to a better health and educational outcomes. Okay, so the first advantage is to it lead to better health and educational outcomes, and in fact, increasing staff levels within the ICDS framework uh, will have a significant outcomes. The addition of half-time worker effectively doubled the net preschool instructional time, which lead to improvements in math, language test scores for children enrolled in this program. So this is the first advantage of the Anganwadi worker, improving the numbers of Anganwadi workers. The second advantage is children who remained enrolled also exhibited reduced rates of child stunting and severe malnutrition. Okay, so this is one of the key and major, and those who enrolled also exhibited reduced rates of child stunting and severe malnutrition. And the third aspect is the cost of a national, or the third advantage is the cost of nationwide rollout of this model is relatively insignificant when it comes to the potential advantages it actually offers. The estimated long-term benefits based on expected improvements in life advantage is that the new Anganwadi worker can be given the responsibility of concentrating only on preschool and early childhood education. Okay, so what are the advantages of it? So this would allow the existing workers to dedicate. It would allow them to dedicate more time to child health and nutrition. So it would also enable the respective Anganwadi workers to expand their outreach and serve a larger number of families. When they are able to serve the larger number of families, it is very likely that that will reduce the levels of malnutrition, that will improve the educational outcomes, the cognitive abilities of children, and that would also reduce the that will also reduce increase the enrollment ratios and reduce the dropout ratio. So the fifth advantage is that apart from improving the well-being of rural communities, this would create job opportunities for the local residents. Okay, so when uh, more and more Anganwadi workers, especially women, are being appointed, then that would in fact create uh, job opportunities for the local residents. Okay, and it will lead to the creation of around 1.3 million new jobs for women across India. The operationalization of Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0 proposal hinges on its status as a centrally sponsored scheme. Okay, so state governments in fact see the execution, administration, management, and monitoring of the Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0, and consequently, Anganwadi recruitment will also fall under the jurisdiction of the respective state governments. Okay, so guided regulations and regional specific criteria. Now there should be a the decentralized approach promotes tailored, efficient implementation of the ICDS program. Now, in fact, the government of India has also provides funds for Anganwadi workers, helpers as a honorarium and cost sharing basis. Okay? So apart from this, the existing data have shown that there are significant variations in the implementation of ICDS and level of skills of the Anganwadi workers. Okay, and this shows that it requires a further investment in the training program and infrastructure improvement in the Anganwadi centers. Okay, so it should not be neglected or it should not be overstated. Right? So the disconcerting 2.5 lakh centers operate without functional sanitation facilities, and 1.5 lakh ICDS or Anganwadi centers lack access to potable water, and they are a very serious problems. And apart from this, approximately 4.1 lakh Anganwadi centers, they do not possess their own Pakka building. Okay, so these are some of the problems and challenges with the ICDS or the Anganwadi centers. To unlock the ICDS full potential and address the persistent issues, it is essential to revisit or re-evaluate its strategies and implementation. Empowering Anganwadi workers is just a start, or it is part of the overall process, right? So, what is the integrated child development services? The ICDS is actually a government program in India that provides food, preschool education, primary health care, immunization, health checkup, referral services to children under the age group of 6 years and their mothers. Okay, so this is the overall ICDS program. Okay, so Ministry of Women and Child Development is actually the implementing the scheme for welfare development and protection of children. So the ICDS scheme offers package of 6 services. What are those 6 services? They include supplementary nutrition, preschool, non-formal education, nutrition and health education, immunization under Mission Indradhanush Universal Immunization Program, health checkup, and referral services are some of the services which are offered by the Integrated Child Development Services. Now, what are the objectives of the scheme? So, the objectives include to improve the nutritional and health status of children in the age group of 6 to 0 to 6 years, and it will also lay down foundation for proper psychological, physical and social development of the child. And third, to reduce the incidence of mortality, morbidity, malnutrition, and school dropout. Okay, so these are some of the objectives of integrated child development services. Okay, so these are services offered by the Anganwadi centers. They include supplementary nutrition, referral services, health checkup, immunization, nutrition, health education, preschool, formal education. Now, under the umbrella scheme of integrated child development services, the following four are being approved by the government for the implementation. Okay, so Government of India approves continuation of sub schemes under the umbrella scheme of integrated child development services. So this is from the period of 2017 to 2019. So what are these sub schemes? They include Anganwadi services, scheme for adolescent girls, and child protection services, national crenche system. Okay, so they are being implemented under the integrated child development services. Okay, so the next article is about the status of transgenic crops in India. Okay, so what are the transgenic crops in India? We need to understand what exactly are the transgenic crops. So transgenic crops are those crops where a gene from one organism is being transferred into the another organism. Okay, for example, when it comes to the bt cotton, the genes from the other bacteria, bacillus thuringiensis, okay, is being transferred into the cotton. Okay, that will help beat the pink bollworm in cotton. Okay, that will reduce the pest attack on the cotton. Okay, so this is these are called as a transgenic crops. Now we need to understand the context of this news article. So three states, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Telangana, recently deferred a proposal approved by the Center's Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee. So, this Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee is the top level or nodal agency, okay, for the approval of transgenic crops in India. Okay, so recently, Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee has approved to test a new kind of a transgenic cotton seed. Okay, so this transgenic cotton seed contains CRY2AI. Okay, so this is the name of the gene. So please remember the name of the gene, CRY2AI. Okay, so there is a high probability that in prelims they may ask this. So CRY2AI is related to which of the following? Because UPSC has been shown interest in the genetic engineering since past several years. Okay, so this particular gene CRY2AI is purportedly makes cotton resistant to the pink bollworm. Okay, so pink bollworm is a major pest, and in fact, the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee has given a go-ahead for the testing of this particular gene. On the other hand, states like Maharashtra, Telangana, and Gujarat have not given a go-ahead. Okay, so what is the status of the transgenic crops in India? Now we need to understand the status of transgenic crops in India. So there are an array of crops. Okay, for example, brinjal, tomato, maize, chickpea, in various stages of trial. Okay, so they actually employ the transgenic technology, whether it is brinjal, tomato, maize, and chickpea, and there are various stages of trial and employ transgenic technology. However, cotton remains the only transgenic crop that is being commercially cultivated in India. Okay, so only BT cotton is allowed for the commercial cultivation in India. In fact, the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee is the apex technical body, and that is charged with evaluating proposals for testing genetically modified seeds. Okay, so it tests the genetically modified seeds, and in fact approved the recently also the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee has also approved the environmental release of mustard hybrid variety. The name of the mustard hybrid variety is DMH11. Okay, so its parental lines during the 147th meeting. Okay, so please remember DMH11 as well. The Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, which is under the Union Environment Ministry. Okay, so this is under the Union Environment under the Union Environment Ministry. So, apart from that, against or opposing the introduction of GM crops into the environment, several petitions were also filed in the Supreme Court. Why people are filing these petitions in the Supreme Court? Because it poses a significant risks to environment and health of the farmers, ecology and the biodiversity, and it will also develop resistance to the the pink bollworm may develop resistance to the using of herbicides, and in fact the companies will also use the terminated technology so that the farmers will also be able to use seeds only for one single generation. So because of all these concerns, the GM crops or the GM technologies are actively opposed. Okay, now, if you look at the process of regulating the transgenic crops in India, so the process of developing transgenic crops is actually an elaborate one, and it involves inserting a transgenic genes into plants. Okay, so that will elicit a sustained protective and the protective response is a mix of both science and a chance. Okay, so there are multiple safety assessments that are actually being done by committees before they are actually cleared for further testing open plots of land. Okay, so because when we are introducing the GM crops, it is very important for us to do the proper safety assessment or the safety checks. In fact, a transgenic plant can apply for a commercial clearance only after it has a proven to be demonstrably better than the existing non-GM variant. Okay, for example, a creation of a drought-resistant variety, a drought-tolerant variety, pest-resistant or insect-resistant variety. Okay, so that has not posed significant ecological harm to other species. Okay, right. So, why states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Telangana have revoked the genetic engineering appraisal committee approval to the cultivation of new transgenic cotton variety that consists of tri 2AI. Okay. Right. So the cotton seed has been developed by the Hyderabad-based Bio Seed Research India. So with the gene name Try2AI. So it makes it resistant to pink bollworm. The first generation of transgenic cotton had been developed to inure cotton against more widespread pests. Okay, so the first generation was developed to inure that is able to show resistance to a wide variety of pests. So cry 2 AI seed has a past preliminary and confined trials and was recommended by the genetic engineering appraisal committee to be tested in farmers fields in Telangana, Maharashtra, Gujarat and Haryana, but Haryana has given the approval, but other three states are not in favor of giving their respective approvals. Okay, in fact, the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee have also sent letters to these state governments record reasons for the rejection of the testing of the new BT cotton variety. Okay, now we need to understand, are there changes in the offering in process of regulation of GM crops? Okay, so the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee consists of a panel of plant biotechnologists and is headed by a senior official of the Environment Ministry, and it is co-chaired by scientists from Department of Biotechnology. So if there are any issues, to resolve those issue of states not according approvals or testing because of differing attitudes of GM crops. So, Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee is considering a proposal by Department of Biotechnology to declare some regions across India as notified testing sites. When some areas are being declared as a notified testing sites, then among those sites, uh, the tests could be easily conducted, because see, agriculture is a state subject. Okay, since agriculture is a state subject, when granting approvals for the conducting trials or cultivating these crops, the state's approval is necessary. Okay, now we need to understand what exactly are the GM crops. Okay, what are the GM crops? So a GM crop is a crop which has a gene artificially inserted into it from another species. Okay, so even though it is unrelated, it will give some desired properties. Okay, so GM crops are mostly either pest resistant or herbicide tolerant. Okay, so these are the features or the characteristic features of the GM crops. So are there other genetically modified crops in India? Earlier we have discussed the BT cotton is the only variety that has been allowed for commercial cultivation. So government has not approved commercial cultivation of other GM crops, though efforts have recently made for the cultivation of brinjal and mustard. So when did India get its first GM crop? So the first GM crop variety approved for commercialization was BT. Okay, so Polygon 1, that provided immunity against the pink bollworm and developed by Monsanto. So this is a private company and that has developed the BT cotton variety. So that was given a go ahead in the year 2002, and Monsanto in fact released Bolagad 2 in the year 2006. So India became the world's largest producer of cotton, partly due to the BT cotton variety, and this BT cotton variety accounts for around 90% of the total cotton acreage in the country. Okay. Now, given here some of the advantages or benefits or risks of the GM crops. Now, in terms of nutritional value of foods, that they can be improved. For example, introducing proteins, vitamins, vaccines. So this is the first benefit of genetically modified crops. The second benefit is crops can be produced that lack known as allergens. And third, crops can grow in arid conditions for better yield by introducing drought-resistant genes, etc. And fourth advantage, GM crops can produce herbicides to kill pests. So the fifth one is improved food supply. Agriculture in poor countries, GM crops can be engineered for improved yields. So the fifth one is GM crops may have a longer shelf lives, and GM crops also reduces economic costs and carbon footprint, and less need for land clearing and pesticide usage. Okay, so what are the risks which are actually associated with the genetically modified organisms? So the risks include new traits could cause adverse health reactions. Okay, for example, new proteins may cause allergic responses. And secondly, removal of traits could have unknown effects or unknown side effects. And for third disadvantage is crops may limit the biodiversity of a local environment or local biodiversity because of increased competition with the native species. And cross pollination could lead to a super weeds that cannot be removed. Okay, that cannot be killed. Now patents restrict farmers from accessing the GM seeds. So for example, the terminating technology. So biotechnology companies hold monopolies over the crop usages. So foods with the GM components may not be labeled. So different governments may have a conflicting regulatory standards concerning the safe uses, especially in India because agriculture is a state subject, and the national level regulation requires the approval from the different state governments. So the next article is with respect to the male centric medicine and how that has been affecting the woman health in India. Okay, right. So this article is about the medicine which is more and more focused on the male health issues and neglecting the woman health issues. Okay, right. So please understand, uh, to date, a male model of medicine is actually thriving, and the tendency of treating women as a smaller men, despite a growing body of research, insisting on psychological differences beyond reproductive organs. So between the sexes. So the genetic and epigenetic differences between men and women are also extensively documented. So despite having all these advantages, the medicine is heavily biased or heavily prioritized for needs of the male and neglected the healthcare needs of the woman. Okay, so generic drugs, trials, and mental health. Okay, generic drugs, trials, and mental health. So we need to understand all these aspects and how the lack of effective medication for women has been impacting their health. The first aspect is generic drugs. Now, India is in fact known as the pharmacy of the world. Now, so the gender disparity in clinical trials has even bigger implications. It has even bigger implications, and thanks to the generic drug production and consumption. Okay, so because it has been demonstrated in various studies that women bodies respond differently to the components of generic drugs. Okay, uh, so one evidence has shown that the clinical trials of generic medicine, nearly one-fifth of the medication showed a difference in the active dose between men and women. So how the generic drugs have been responding to men and women? Since they are prioritized for men, when women uses, they show different effects on the woman's healthcare. Okay, so women have been either overdosing, as in the case of Zolpidem. This is a drug variety, and the Zolpidem is a common sleep medicine, or not getting enough, as in the case of several pain medicines or decades now, thanks to their underrepresentation in the clinical trials. So, since women have been significantly underrepresented in clinical trials, so the medicines are not more and more suitable for the women. Okay, so this is not all about the treatment but also about testing and diagnosis, where women have been getting a rough pain. For instance, mental health. Okay, so there was a survey that was conducted in Tamil Nadu by a Nobel laureate Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Duffy. So the research shows that 26% of men and 31% of women aged or in the age group of 61 to 70 have symptoms, and these symptoms indicating high likelihood of depression. Okay, so these symptoms have been indicating high likelihood of depression. So this study firmly notes that depression rates and prevalence of anxiety are higher for women than for men worldwide in general. And so because one can add to this study on human capital, and that was conducted by some researchers, and that states that women with an early onset of depression are less likely to obtain college degrees and less likely to pursue postgraduate degrees. uh, you know we see the vicious cycle of women's underrepresentation here. Okay, so there are different or the multiplier effect of women, because lack of access, or even though there is access to medicine, but medicine is male centric. Depression, cardiac issues are now acknowledged as having a slightly more prevalence in women. Okay, so yet they continue to be diagnosed and treated like lesser men. So these are some of the issues. Okay, so the gaps that can be linked to apathy. So, to the exclusion of women from clinical trials and research projects, so addressing sex agonistic critical illness such as cancer, heart diseases, and that has resulted in actually a limited understanding of sex specific symptoms and responses to the treatment. Okay, women have a very low representation in clinical trials and various research projects. For example, the author has been suggesting that if a man menstruated, there would be several multi-million dollar projects studying cramps. Okay, so since women were neglected when the medicine or the research or the clinical trials. Okay, so this statement shows that women were largely neglected. In fact, the World Health Organization data from 2017, that data shows that every day around 808 women die due to complications of pregnancy and childbirth. Okay, however, these deaths were actually preventable, but they are occurred due to the interaction between the pre-existing medical conditions and pregnancy. Okay, so therefore, in order to create an equitable world, women would be accepted as an individual category with race, age, class as a subcategories. Okay, so and apart from this, equal amount of time and resources would be spent in finding and providing treatment and healthcare for women. Okay, so equitable world involves equitable medicine or equitable access or equitable research clinical trials for both men and women. Okay, so India has several progressive policies with respect to women health. That includes right to abortion. Okay, so now it is time for the policy intervention in the space of sex specific research in medicine and implementation of the outcomes. Now, India's G20 presidency may be an opportune time to highlight this issue in alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals on women's health. Okay, so this is all about this article. Now, we have discussed that due to the problems of male-centric medicine, women have been facing several issues, and one of the most pressing challenge women have been facing is, malnutrition. So, how can we reduce the malnutrition problem? Okay, so through several ways we can reduce the problem of malnutrition. Now it involves developing national food protocols and guidelines. Okay. So secondly, strengthening the healthcare system. Right. So after that, prioritizing nutrition in pre-service education because there is a need to revise the nutrition curriculum for medical universities and colleges across the country and making hospitals mother and baby friendly. That is also a very and engaging the community volunteers. Community volunteers program need to be developed in India as well, and engaging these community volunteers would significantly reduce the problem of malnutrition. Okay, so using tools to promote the dietary diversity. Dietary diversity is also very important to reduce the non-communicable diseases and also ensure adequate and balanced diet is being taken by the targeted or vulnerable group. Okay, so reaching out to the urban areas. For example, we can leverage the existing social media platforms like Facebook, and can also use the regional TV channels and community radios. So that will help us reach out to the larger urban audience or the larger urban masses and partnering across different sectors. For example, the cross-sectoral interventions, health, education, agriculture, and these projects need to be integrated with the nutrition elements. Okay, so these are some of the interventions that has to be taken by the government. Okay, so the next article is with respect to Tamil Nadu withdraws general consent that is actually granted to the Central Bureau of Investigation. Now, what is the Central Bureau of Investigation? We need to understand this. Okay, so when it comes to this, CBI is a premier investigating police agency in India. Okay, so it functions under the superintendence of Ministry of Personal Pension and Public Grievances. Okay, it works under the superintendent's direction. And third, it coordinates on behalf of India with the Interpol member countries. Right. So fifth, it investigations of offences under the Prevention of Corruption Act, superintendents with the Central Vigilance Commission. Now the conviction rate of CBI is high as 65 to 70%. So one of the landmark judgment of the Central Bureau of Investigation is Vineet Narayan versus Union of India 1997. Okay, so it has laid down several steps to secure the autonomy of the CBI. When you write the answer for main means examination, you have to remember the Vineet Narayan versus Union of India judgment in the year 1997. Now, institutional changes that were suggested by the former Chief Justice of India, M.V. Ramana, was CBI and creation of an umbrella investigation. They should be an independent head. CBI should be headed by an independent and impartial authority. So it should have a statutory backing. As of now, Central Bureau of Investigation have no statutory backing and directions. So once an incident is reported, the organization should decide as to which specialized wing should take up the investigation. Separation of prosecution and investigation wings of the Central Bureau of Investigation. Okay, so annual audit reports must be submitted and replication by the states. Okay, so challenges associated with the autonomy of the Central Bureau of Investigation include it is dependent on Home Ministry for staffing purpose, and it also dependent on Law Ministry for lawyers, and dependent on state governments for invoking its authority to investigate cases in a state. Okay, so now in this context, what is a general consent? So in every matters like corruption, crime, so CBI can generally investigate cases in different states. Okay, so if states withdraw their general consent, CBI cannot investigate these cases. Okay, so the general consent approval given by state government concerned from time to time. Okay, state governments concerned from time to time gives general consent to the Central Bureau of Investigation. Okay, so the agency originating from the actual origin of this agency is from Special Police Establishment and Other Agencies Act. Okay, Delhi Special Police Establishment Act 1946. Okay, the consent is necessary as the jurisdiction of these agencies is confined to Delhi and Union territories under this act. Right? When a particular state withdraws the general consent, the CBI cannot investigate any cases in that particular state. Okay, so recently Tamil Nadu has become the state. Tamil Nadu has joined the list of states which have withdrawn the general consent to the CBI. Okay, so there are few other states which have already withdrawn the general consent to the CBI. They include Tamil Nadu, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Kerala, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Punjab, Rajasthan, Telangana, and West Bengal. Okay, so these are largely the opposition ruled states, and they have withdrawn the consent to the Central Bureau of Investigation. Okay, so the permission to investigate cases in these states has been denied by the respective state governments. Okay, the next article is about the Uniform Civil Code. Okay, so this is with respect to the Uniform Civil Code. Now, the Uttarakhand government has decided to implement some of the provisions of the Uniform Civil Code across the state. Okay, so it has constituted a committee headed by the retired Justice Ranjana Prakash Desai. Okay, so this committee has been conducting meetings across the state of Uttarakhand and also in Delhi to accept the suggestions and recommendations from the people about the implementation or the feasibility of the implementation of the Uniform Civil Code. Now, in this context, we need to understand what is the Uniform Civil Code. Uniform Civil Code is all sections of the society, irrespective of their religion, shall be treated equally according to the National Civil Code, or this is known as Uniform Civil Code. Okay, so in the matters of marriage, divorce, maintenance, inheritance, adoption, succession of property. So in all these aspects, the Uniform Civil Code will treat or all sections of the society will be treated equally. Okay, so it is based on the premise that there is necessarily no connection between religion and personal law in a civilized society. Okay, so Uniform Civil Code refers to a common set of laws governing civil rights of every citizen. Now, Article 44 of the Directive Principle sets a duty of the states in implementing the Uniform Civil Code. Okay. Now, some of the pros and cons of the Uniform Civil Code include some of the pros include provide equal status to all citizens. Secondly, UCC promote gender parity, accommodate the aspirations of the young population, and diversity